David, and they came with a plan that they have to go back to the 1967 border. That means Palestinians, they will have their own state on the 1967 border at the original plan, and the Israeli will have their country on the 1948 border, which is the green line, and anything over here, they're going to evacuate it. Smell like trash. Again, so in again, all the settlements according to international law, they are illegal. So Israel, they start building colonies in 1967. So they wanted to evacuate from 1967 until 1994. That time when Oslo Agreement was signed, they said it's okay. It's only 80,000 settlers. They were that time in East Jerusalem, in the West Bank, and 40,000 settlers in East Jerusalem. So altogether, they are around 120,000 settlers. Okay, 120,000 settlers. During also talk, they said maybe it will take us maybe 5 years to evacuate. Look at, okay, I don't know. Hold on a minute. What's going on over here? Why there's Israeli soldiers here? Are they cutting the olive trees down or what? Someone broke. Look at the olive trees. Yeah. Sometimes during the olive picking, settlers, they attack Palestinians and they destroy their olive trees in night time. So it looks like a Palestinian farmer, he lost the olive trees. Sometimes they cut them or they burn them, it depends. Because this is like where the settlers, they pass by. So during Oslo, they said we will evacuate around 80,000 settlers from the West Bank and we will freeze the settlements. We get excited. Okay, if the Israel, they stop building settlements, that means will be hope for peace. And during Yasser Arafat time, all the Palestinians very much, they were united during Yasser Arafat time. And Yasser Arafat said it's time to make peace with the Israelis. Ishaq Rabin they shake hands, but the extremist settlers in the West Bank or on the occupied Palestine, they get aggressive, they get angry, and they assassinated Ishaq Rabin. So Ishaq Rabin was killed by an extremist settler in 1994, and they were a big massacre in Hebron done by American settler. His name is Baruch Goldstein. He did a massacre in 1994, February 25th, 1994, inside the mosque. He entered the mosque and he murdered 29 people and more than 130 people got injured. Yes, you can read about the massacre online. Someone in the mosque with a fire extinguisher smashed him in the head until he died. Today, if you go to Kiryat Arba, there is a big settlement outside the city of Hebron. You will realize that you're going to realize that the Israeli community in Hebron, they built a memorial for him. So there's a memorial. They consider him as a hero. The Israeli government that time, they announced he has a mental problem. So because they don't want to call it a terror attack, but it's a terror attack. And the settlers community, they consider him as a hero. He's a doctor and he knows what he's doing. So he did that on purpose. He kept loading his weapons and he didn't know that someone with the fire extinguisher is gonna smash him in the head. After that, they shut down the mosque for almost like 9 months. And after the 9 months, the Muslims, they were shocked that the mosque is get divided and the whole city of Hebron get shut down. And until today, all the shops still closed. And they get like a military order. And the settlers, they didn't go from the West Bank. And Ariel Sharon, when he took over, he tripled the size of the settlements. And since that day until today, they haven't stopped. They froze the settlements only during Oslo talk for 3 or 4 weeks. That's it. So from 1994 until today, we are talking about 25 years. The number of the settlers in the West Bank and East Jerusalem increased from 120,000 to 750,000. So we do have more than 750,000 settlers. They are living illegally in Palestine. So that means two-state solution. Bah. You know what that means in Arabic? Bah. It means done. It's a beautiful mountain. A lot of people, they think it's a natural mountain, but not. It was built by King Herod, the greater Herod. It was built in 54 BC. He built it for his wife Miriam. So there's a lot of tunnels and ruins on the top. It's became today, it's a national park. We didn't include it to the tour because the money goes to the settlers community. Israel government, they have turned the sites, like historical sites, or some of the religious sites into like a national park, and the money goes into the settlers community. That means Israeli government, they are supporting the settlers community in Palestine. So again, on the left hand side, that's a mountain. You can see it. It's called King Herod Mountain. They charge 35 shekels a person, or 30 shekels, and there's a tunnels and ruins. Okay, so King Herod, when he got older, he went out of his mind again. He went crazy, and he sacrificed some of his children, and he gave order to his soldiers when he heard that Virgin Mary gave a birth of a king, or he heard that a new king was born, and he gave order to his soldiers to murder all the male babies of the city of Bethlehem. From here to the city of Bethlehem is like 5 miles. It's not too far, just a shortcut. And we don't know until today how many innocent children were killed, but he was afraid about his kingdom. But Virgin Mary, she took the baby from the cave that his soldiers entered, and she went to a different cave. That cave today is called Milky Grotto. Yeah. Now, there's another illegal settlement on the left-hand side. It's called Tiku, 4,500 people, 4,400, I think 4,500 settlers. That's like a last year. I didn't update my information about that settlement because the construction is still going on. But that's illegal settlement, and there's one of the Minister of Defense, I think he quit a few months ago. His name is Lieberman. He was also the Minister of Defense in Israel. He quit because Netanyahu, he said, according to him, he said that Netanyahu is very soft with the Palestinians. But I don't know what's his position right now. I will ask Ismail, because sometimes he follows media more than me in Hebrew. Lieberman استقال قبل فترة. شو وضعه هلا في No, he didn't quit, but he's like he's trying to be against Netanyahu because he's one of the right wing. And if you Google his name, you will realize he's like from Ukraine or from Russia. Yeah. And this is one of the access to a settlement for only settlers. I am not allowed to drive in. On the top of that road, there's a checkpoint. So all the settlements, they are very much controlled by it could be by private security or a government security. The ones in Hebron, it's a government control, because inside the city of Hebron, you're going to realize that all the settlers been protected by the Israeli government. You will see in Israeli soldiers with uniform. There are more than 1,300 soldiers. Their job to protect 550 settlers, and the settlers are causing a lot of trouble in Hebron. So this land on both sides, it could be on the left hand side, this area, it could be in area C. Area C, it's a Palestinian land, but it's occupied land, and it will tell you why Israel, they keep occupying lands in area C. And on the right hand side, you will see a town, or you will see a village. It's considered as area B. Let me make one point clear. During the Ottoman time, the Ottomans, they were ruling over here for like hundreds of years. During the Ottoman time, the Ottomans, they were collecting taxes from the Palestinians. So many Palestinians, they used to register part of their land. So they don't have registration for all their land to pay less taxes. This is one thing. Second thing, that Palestinians long time ago, they used to give word of mouth. Like to buy a land, you give your word of mouth with some few friends as a witnesses, and it's yours, the land's yours, just shake hand. So a lot of Palestinians, they don't have documents to approve this is their land, and Israel, okay, you don't have documents, it's not yours anymore. We are taking it, we are occupying it. Seriously. They start coming into villages to tell them to not expand. So area B, it's 18. Look, there's like a protest. Look at the soldiers over here. Now there's like a protest over here. The protest is, that's a protest. You know why? Because 2 days ago, 15 years old boy, he was run over by a settler here, and the settler ran away. And the boy, I'm not, look, I can find out lunchtime. I will make a phone call if he, yeah, see the soldiers. I think maybe the boy dead or something. I don't know. He was like seriously injured, and the settler ran away. That was 2 days ago. So the kids at school, they are angry. This is how the uprising started. Settlers, they attack Palestinians and they run away, and Palestinians, they protest against the violence. Look at the Israeli soldiers. They are everywhere. Look. Yeah, looks like maybe the guy got killed from this village, so we're not coming back this way. I'm very sure. No, seriously, if someone gets murdered, that means the Palestinians of that village, they will, and Israel, they murdered kids almost every day, but you don't hear it back home. You don't hear everything unless you go and look for it. Maybe some media around the world, they are telling the truth. Some media, they are not telling the truth. Some media, they just like headlines but without explanation. So it depends. But we, as a Palestinians, we are getting a lot of solidarity from the Jewish community around the world and from normal people almost everywhere in the world. But the problem is with the governments. I don't see any government that are serious about the occupation. I don't see any governments that are fighting against the settlements. I don't see anything changing on the ground. The settlements been going crazy. The world, they are busy with the Middle East and Syria and Russia, and in the Israel they're building day and night. Even they are destroying our economy, and they are hiring Palestinian workers to do the job. So they are using the Palestinians day and night. I know some Palestinians who work in nighttime. Israel, they keep expanding. Donald Trump, sorry, I don't know if anyone in this was like last time I had one of the Donald Trump supports, but it doesn't, for me, if I have Donald Trump supports or not, I'm not going to change my mind about this idiot that after he recognized that East Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, we lost 450 Palestinians, and by recognizing East Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, or Jerusalem, or the entire, he said the entire Jerusalem, including East Jerusalem, that means he made it worse. So the world now, they can see that this idiot, or maybe US government, they are the main supporter for the occupation. US government, they keep funding the occupation. They keep giving Israel a lot of money. I can share with you how much US government they give the occupation and the surrounding areas to protect the occupation or to protect Israel. If I'm an American citizen, I will be pissed off. I will be protesting every day in front of the White House, protesting for my money, for my taxes. Maybe some of you is not familiar with the numbers. It take me only 1 minute to give you the numbers that US government gives it to Israel and the surrounding area. The money, you have to understand, from time to time it creates problems and corruptions and making things worse, not solving problems. Before I start talking about the numbers, I want you to take a look on the left hand side. You see a lot of factories, and some of the mountains they just cut down. This is the place where they bring the limestone. Limestone, it's from the south of Jerusalem, which is Hebron. All the mountains over there, they bring the limestone. You can see the factory, and you can see the limestone over here on the right hand side. This limestone as a blocks, it's for sale. I can buy over here and take it to the stone factory and get any shape and size that I want. Do you know what I'm saying? So you can make like, that's why if you look at the Palestinian houses, all of them made of limestone and different sizes, different shape, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to buy a limestone because it's from here. So the material and the laborers are very cheap. So that's why Palestinians, they can afford to build a house. Palestinians are not. See, look at this. You can see how they cut the mountains, see, and the factories. This is all stone factories. So, a lot of people on my tour, they ask me what the solution, how their settlements can stop. I said, if US government stop funding Israel and the settlements. Honestly, all the settlements very much, and the walls built by US dollars. It used to be, before Donald Trump, $3.9 billion aid comes to Israel every year. During Donald Trump and George Kushner, they raised the money up to $4.5 billion. $4.5 billion, maybe for you it sounds, maybe some people, they don't know how much that a day, but I know. You can use a calculator. Do you know how much $4.5 billion a year? Do you know how much that a day? Is anyone good in math over here? Do you want to use a calculator? Do you want to know how much? It's $10 million a day. More than $10 million a day. That's just when it comes to Israel by itself. Now, if you go to Egypt and you talk to the Egyptian guards, their job to keep destroying the tunnels and close the gate between Gaza and Egypt. And if they don't follow orders, US government, they will stop giving aid to Egypt, which is $1.8 billion. There's another $5 million a day just to destroy and close the gate. They give Jordan $800 million a year to protect the borders, to keep it safe. They give our corruption government $400 million a day, $400 million a year, another couple of million, another like, I don't know how many $million, another couple of $1 million a day to keep their mouths shut up and to not sue Israel, like $1.something million a day. That's why we have a lot of corruptions within the government. Today, we don't have a good government in the West Bank, government in Gaza, East Jerusalem under the Israeli government, and the Palestinians in 1948, they have an Israeli citizenship, they lost, they don't know what to do. So we are not united, and Israel doesn't want the Palestinians to be united. And I'm against elections these days because we are not united. When the Palestinians one day they get united, hopefully we will have a good elections. So if you as government, listen to this carefully, if you as government decided to stop giving money to this region, this occupation will end tomorrow. The settlements will stop. Israel, they're using this money. They're using it to build more. That's why in some settlements, settlers, they don't pay any kind of mortgages or nothing. The government, they pay them to stay. And from where the government, they bring in the money? From American government. So there's a lot of settlers, they moved for political reasons. They don't have a jobs. They don't serve in the army. They get a lot of protection from the Israeli government, which is a lot of expenses. And they just attack. This is another settlement over here on the right-hand side. Can you see the antennas on the right-hand side? There's antennas and I don't know if you can see the concrete. It's a water tower. There's 2 water towers. So they keep sucking the water from the West Bank, and they take, look at the settlement. They don't have water tanks. This is a Jewish settlement. It's surrounded by fence. This fence, it has wires and sensors and cameras everywhere. Look at the sensor. If we come near this fence, if you touch the fence, the cameras, the alarm will turn on and security will come. You will see the entrance of the settlement now. It has like guards and security and only settlers. I'm not allowed to access to that settlement, okay? You allowed, I'm not allowed. So again, you will see one of the Jewish settlements. In this region over here, there's around 23 settlements. Some of the buses stop for only settlers, like this one on the left-hand side. Palestinians are not allowed to use this bus stop. In a minute, on Highway 60, I will show you bus stop for settlers and snipers. They have Agate bus, the green bus. They provide transportation to Jerusalem. By the way, Jerusalem, it's 15 minutes away from here on Highway 60. They drive on Highway 60. When they get to the checkpoint, 3 lanes, 1 lane for settlers, 1 lane for Palestinians from East Jerusalem for vehicles, and 1 lane for trucks and buses who are bringing people from East Jerusalem and foreigners. They have to get checked. Settlers at the checkpoint, they don't have to get stuck at the same lane. So this is an apartheid, you know, where you see this is like for Arabs, this is for Jews. Bus stop for Arabs, bus stop for Jews. I never ever used the word apartheid, but I had people from South Africa a couple of years ago, and they told me, they did a Hebron tour with me. They said, wow, we want to tell you. And you can read a lot of books about the occupation and about how they treat Palestinian children and what kind of orders they get against children. And today we are talking about at least 500 kids under age of 16 in Israeli prisons, and more than 8,500 adults also. So we are talking about 9,000 plus more people in Israeli prisons. And I don't know if any of you on this tour have heard about the hunger strike in the Israeli prisons. Many people from Muhammad's camp, from the Haitian's camp, have been or went on a hunger strike because of the treatment. Hunger strike, people, they don't eat, they drink water and salt, and sometimes they get really they need a hospital, but Israel, they don't, until they break the hunger strike. One of the main reasons that people, they do hunger strikes in the prisons because of the treatment. Secondly, they are not allowed to see their parents, and there's no trial. Sometimes Israel could arrest someone on the protest and put them in the prison with no trial, and most of the Palestinians, they don't know for how long they're gonna spend in the prison. That's why if you see a protest and people, they get caught, they could spend like 4 or 5 years in the prison. This is one of the checkpoints that going to Jerusalem. We are like 10 minutes or 15 minutes away from Jerusalem, but we have to drive right. Palestinian vehicles, the vehicle in the front of us on the right hand side, it has a Palestinian license plate. So none of the Palestinian vehicles are allowed to go from here. The main lane, the first and second lane for Palestinians who has a Jerusalem ID cards, and the second lane over here for settlers. Settlers, they don't get stopped. The Palestinians, they get stopped and they have to go outside they have to walk outside the bus. So this checkpoint, it has 3 lanes, 2 of them for the Palestinians from East Jerusalem and 1 for settlers. Settlers, they don't have to get stuck on the traffic, or they don't have to stuck at the checkpoint, okay?